The house smelled of gasoline. Clara stood in the middle of the living room, fingers trembling around the matchbook. The roaring quiet of the room wrapped her like a suffocating fog, punctuated only by the drip of a leaky faucet somewhere in the distance. The curtains she had nailed to the walls swallowed the light of the street lamps outside, leaving her face half illuminated by the flickering glow of a candlelight. She didn't know why she called him. Desperation, maybe? The kind that claws at your ribs when you've hit the bottom so hard you don't even remember falling. The phone tossed on the couch, buzzed and buzzed again. Her husband's voice finally broke the silence. Clara, are you there? What the hell is going on? She flicked the match against the book's edge. It ignited in a hiss. The small flame trembling against her unsteady hand, the gasoline stain on her shirt reeked, and the heat of the flame crawled too close for comfort. This is who I've always been, Andrew, she whispered, the tears in her eyes catching the light. A black hole. Everything I touch turns to ash. Maybe it's just time I finish the job. Clara wasn't always this way. A year ago, she was the magnetic force in every room, the kind of person who turned heads without trying. People use words like brilliant, fearless, one of one to describe her. She was an artist who could make abandoned warehouses look like cathedrals, the kind of visionary who could spin magic out of rust and ruin. But no one saw what it cost her. The pressure to always create something breathtaking, to always live up to the hype. It started to eat her alive. At first it was the little things, missed calls, late nights, projects that felt like pulling teeth instead of inspiration. Then the void crept in, the kind of hollow that makes you question why you even started in the first place. The spark was gone, and all that was left was a gnawing voice that whispered, "What's the point?" Her career fell apart. She ghosted her friends. The last straw was a major gallery exhibit. She was supposed to debut it, a piece everyone was hyped for. Instead, Clara disappeared the night of the opening, leaving only a cryptic voicemail for the curator. "I can't do this anymore." That night, the gasoline-soaked one, was supposed to be the end. But the knock at the door stopped her. Not Andrew. The knock came again, sharper this time. And then a voice. "Clara? Clara, open the door. I know you're in there." It was Bia, her old mentor. The woman who'd once told Clara her creativity was a gift, not a burden. When Clara opened the door, Bia didn't say anything at first. She just took one look at the chaos, the empty bottles, the gasoline can, and let out a heavy sigh. "If you're going to burn your life down," Bia said, stepping aside, "you might as well make it worth watching." Clara's walls crumbled. The shame, the anger, the exhaustion, it all spilled out. And for the first time in months, someone saw her. Bia didn't tell Clara what to do or give her some long speech about potential. She just handed her a sketchbook. "Draw," she said. "Doesn't matter what. Make it messy. Make it ugly. Just get it out." At first, Clara resisted. What was the point? But one night, sitting in the dim light of her apartment, she picked up a pen and started to draw. The sketches were chaotic, lines that didn't make sense, scribbles that looked more like static than art. But with every stroke, something shifted. The anger got quieter. The shame didn't feel so heavy. Bia showed up every week, with coffee and no agenda. "Let's go see the old studio," she said one day. Clara hesitated. I mean, even the thought of stepping back into that space felt like opening an old wound. But Bia was not the type to take no for an answer. The studio was a wreck. Dusty canvases, broken tools, unfinished pieces stacked like a graveyard of her ambition. But Bia didn't see it that way. "This is not a graveyard," she said. "This is your raw material. Let's start there." Clara didn't dive back in like some hero on a redemption arc. It was slow, it was clumsy, and it was full of doubts. But this time, she wasn't creating to prove anything. She was just creating. She took her broken pieces, both literal and emotional, and started piecing them together. Metal shards became sculptures. Old sketches became collages. For the first time, she didn't care about how it would be received. She cared about how it felt. Months later, she stood in a gallery surrounded by her work. The centerpiece was a sculpture called the Phoenix, made from the scraps of the exhibit she had abandoned. It wasn't perfect, but it was alive, a raw, beautiful testament to everything she had been through. Clara stood at the back of that room, watching people interact with her art. But this time she didn't need their approval. She wasn't there to be seen. She was there because she had finally seen herself. And for the first time, she felt it. The spark. Not the frantic, all-consuming flame that burned her out, but something steady and alive. A fresh start, a new beginning, and this time it was all hers.